The Archaeological Museum of Igoumenitsa is a modern regional museum at the northern entrance to the city, operating since 2009. The construction of the building, the design, and organization of the permanent exhibition lasted between 2003 and 2009. All works were co-financed by European funds within the context of the second and third community support frameworks. The exhibits come from excavations carried out from the 1960s until recently throughout the Thesprotia regional unit, which largely coincides with the geographical area of ancient Thesprotia. For this reason, the permanent exhibition of the museum is entitled Thesprotians Land. The museum collections develop over all 3 floors of the building and include more than 1,600 exhibits dating from the Middle Paleolithic to the Roman period. The Byzantine and post-Byzantine periods are also represented with a small number of objects. Through systematic units, the exhibition illustrates the history and the rich archaeological past of Thesprotia, focusing mainly on the Hellenistic period, which was an era of great prosperity for the region. The residential, social, and economic organization in ancient Thesprotia was shaped primarily by its distinct geomorphology. The predominantly mountainous landscape and small plains favored the development of stock farming and agriculture and the organization of Thesprotians into small tribal communities, the ethni, with kinship links. Around the mid-4th century before Christ, the Thesprotian ethni coalesced into a kind of political formation, the Thesprotian Kinon. In the second half of the same century, probably in 331-330 before Christ, they linked together with the mightier ethnos of the Molossians and their allies to form a new political entity called Apeiros, in example, Epirus in the Doric Greek dialect. After the abolition of monarchy in Epirus in the last decades of the 3rd century before Christ, the Thesprotians, together with the other Epirot ethni, formed an expanded federal state mentioned in inscriptions as the Epirot Kinon. Placed at the crossroads of Ionian Sea and mainland Epirus while facing the opposite Italian shore, Thesprotia was the meeting point of cultures, ideas, and people. Their ports, Erymos and Glikis, mentioned by Thucydides and Strabo, were not only naval battlefields, but also significant poles of communication. The exhibits of the Archaeological Museum of Igoumenitsa reflect the influence of Corinth and the colonies founded on the western coast and the Ionian Islands, as well as the early permeation of people and goods from the Italian peninsula. Hall 1, Section 1, Archaeological Historical Retrospect. The first section attempts a chronological account of human activity in Thesprotia through representative exhibits that follow a linear chronological axis from the Middle Paleolithic, about 100,000 years before present, to the Byzantine period. Stone tools of the first hunters, handmade clay utensils, prehistoric bronze weapons and tools trace the century-old journey of the region through time. Wheel-made vessels with painted decoration witness the relations with Corinth and its colonies in the area between the 8th and 6th centuries before Christ, while gold jewelry, marble statuettes, and decorated vessels reflect the heyday of the Thesprotian cities and settlements in the Hellenistic period. Luxurious objects from the Italian peninsula are linked to Romans and Italians settling in Thesprotia after the Roman conquest of 168 before Christ. Clay lamps depicting Christian symbols highlight the gradual spread of Christianity from the 4th century onwards, and handmade vessels of the 7th to 9th centuries provide evidence about the invasion and settlement of Slavic tribes in the region during that period. Hall 1, Section 2. Settlements of the Historical Period. The fortified Thesprotian settlements, Elea, Gitana, and Phanoti, developed after the mid-4th century before Christ. Built in favorable geographical locations, they gradually evolved into economic and political centers of the surrounding regions. Architectural remains of public buildings, ritual vessels, vases with painted decoration, and ceilings with the city's name for the validation of public documents bear witness to the lifespan, character, and residential, social, and economic organization of the settlements. The coastal settlement in Ladochori, Igoumenitsa, which could be associated with the arrival of Roman colonists in the region and developed to a significant center in the early Byzantine period. Hall 2, Section 3, Public Life. The third section on the mezzanine floor of the museum is devoted to the public life of the Thesprotians. Stone inscriptions and sealings for the validation of public documents from the ancient city of Yitana highlight aspects of the political and state organization of the Thesprotian ethne. Silver and bronze coins, as well as established means of standardizing and securing products such as seals on the handles of commercial amphorae and lead measures and weights, reflect the economic organization and commercial contacts with other centers of the Greek world. The unique exhibit of a whole armature of a distinguished cavalry warrior attests to the strong bonds between Epirus and Macedonia. Temple offerings and ceremonial vessels help identify the worshipped deities and outline the religious practices of the Thesprotians. Inscribed tiles and luxurious decorative objects from the furnishing of public buildings are some additional items exhibited in the individual subsections. Hall 3, Section 4, Private Life. The fourth unit focuses on the everyday life of the anonymous inhabitants of ancient Thesprotia. Work, entertainment, leisure, household embellishment and personal hygiene are traced through objects relevant to specific occupations or to one's personal life. The farmer's sickles, the fisherman's hooks, the physician's tools, the weaver's spindle whorls, the musician's aloes, toys for young and old, kitchen and warehouse utensils, bathroom equipment, jewelry, and items for women's grooming. Hall 4, Section 5, The Archaeology of Death. The fifth section deals with the sensitive subject of death, presenting a chronological evolution of burial customs and practices in Thesprotia from the Mycenaean to the Byzantine period. At the beginning of the section, a video showcases the rich mythological past that connects the rivers of Thesprotia to the underworld. Tombs of various types, some aimed for a whole family, with grave goods that accompany the dead in their eternal journey, document the evolution of funerary architecture and burial practices from the late Bronze Age to the Byzantine period. Also shown is the valuable information that graves provide on the economic and social status of the dead and on people's perceptions of the afterlife. The Courtyard, Section 6. The courtyard of the museum hosts items from the Roman colony of Photiki and its port, the coastal settlement in Ladochori, Igoumenitsa. Photiki was founded probably in the Augustan era between 27 BC and 14 AD. The two settlements are located on the ancient road connecting two other major Roman port cities, Buthrotos and Nicopolis. The marble sarcophagi of the 2nd century AD from Photiki and its port, decorated with relief Dionysian scenes, were made in an Attic workshop. Placed in mausoleums, they exemplify the luxury of the burial monuments and mirror the high social status and wealth of the families of the dead. The prosperity of the residential centers of Thesprotia in the Roman and early Christian period is also witnessed by an inscribed pedestal of the early 4th century AD, dedicated by the Roman commander of Photiki, Coranius Titanus, to the Emperor Gaius Galerius Valerius Maximinus Daia, and a mosaic floor of the same period from a luxurious private house in Ladochori produced by a local workshop.